Well, hello and welcome to another Learn Guitar with Derek video. So good to have you join me. From time to time, I just want to look at questions that guitar players have, guitarists have, and you might think, man, there's a question I have, but it might be a dumb question, kind of stupid to ask it, but I guarantee that somebody else out there in guitar land has had the same question, has had the same thoughts. And so there are no dumb questions. And if you have something you want to ask, would encourage you to leave a comment, and it might be something that I address in a later video in this series. So we've talked about just what to look at when buying the first guitar. Today we're going to look at something called a guitar capo. These little doohickeys, what are they? What are they for? Why do we use guitar capos? As a beginner, I didn't know a whole lot about them, but they were a huge benefit to my playing and a huge thing that I use all the time now. And there's great reasons why you should have a capo and why you would use a capo. So we're going to go over a few of those. And at the very end, a few reasons why you may not want to use a capo, or just things that you may want to avoid when using a capo. So just some things that we'll go over at the very end. But I encourage you to give this a like and a sub, and again, leave a comment if there's something that you would like to have addressed in a future video. Should mention a couple of things before we go any further. These two capos that I have here today, this is a Kyser capo, Kyser. You can find these on Amazon for about $25. This is a great durable capo. I've had this for many years, and I probably have only had a couple in my entire playing history from Kyser, and the only thing that goes bad is eventually the spring, that tension piece goes out, and it takes many years for that to happen. So great capo. I'll drop links for these. This one I don't remember the brand name, but it's a very common one that you'll see a lot of times in starter packages for guitar, things like that, intro level things where you'll get a capo like this included. And it's under $10, pretty sure, and I'll drop a link for that as well. Capos, I didn't mention this, but capos basically shorten the length of the string, so it allows us to play in different keys up and down the neck, kind of facilitates quicker, easier playing. The first thing I want to say about capos, though, is that capos help us to learn new songs. So if I'm in a song that I'm not sure what key it's in, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, where's this song land? Sometimes I can figure out that root note, and sometimes I'm just going up and down maybe my low E string to figure out where that note is that the song seems to land on and come back to as the one, or the root of the song, the key that song would be in. Let's say the song is in the key of D. Well, I might be kind of capoing up and down until I figure out, okay, D is going to be way up here. And I can kind of play around and sort of figure out where that key for that song is. And then if I'm using G shapes like I am right here, like a G, but I'm capoed up on the 7th fret way up there, that's a D chord way up there. Then I can also know that there's a C chord there, there's an E minor, there's a D, and I can kind of figure out from listening to the song, maybe I'm just listening to a track, something on Spotify or YouTube, and I'm just trying to figure out what key it's in so I can learn it. This helps me to get there with the capo, and often I use G shapes. Let's say a song is in the key of B. I can capo up to the 4th fret and play a G chord there, and that's actually a B chord with the capo. So it just helps me to kind of learn that song and get around in that song easier. And then I can decide, if I have a song that's in B, do I stay capoed up on the 4th fret? That seems pretty good. That feels good. I know if I'm going to play in the key of B and use open shapes and I'm down in the 1st position, well, those are going to be a lot of bar chords. And I just don't know if I want to do that. Sometimes that may help. That may be a good place to play if another player's capoed up or doing something else, so I don't want to double exactly what they're doing. But it helps to know that I can come back to that position and even just learn the chords that are in that song if I'm using a shape that I already readily know, like the key of G. The second thing that's great about capos, and I kind of mentioned this already, they facilitate quicker, faster playing. Sort of similar to point number one, but I want to expound upon this a little bit. When I'm using a capo, I'm usually doing that because the reason I have that capo there is to make me think less about what I'm doing. It uses less brain power. I can switch between chords and go a little faster looking at what I'm playing. We'll go back to the key of G. I use the capo in the key of G quite a bit. And if I'm going to capo up maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets up the neck for like A flat, A, B flat, B, and so on, C, I am going to play probably in the key of G because I can go between G, E minor, C, D all day and kind of the chords therein, and it just makes it faster as a guitar player, especially when I'm leading. I do a lot of worship leading, so just from acoustic, it's easier not to have to think about it too much. And there are other keys that I do that in as well. I'll use C shapes a lot, so we got C, F, G, A minor, D, D, A, G, B minor. And if I am using C, G, and D, that's probably 90% of what I'm doing on the guitar as far as a rhythm acoustic player. I am just using those keys, I'm using those chords, and then I'm capoing up and down to get to whatever key that we're playing in. So it just brings me down to a few various shapes that I can just rinse and repeat all day as I'm using those. And the capo just becomes my friend then to just go up and down and play those songs very quickly, to know that I only have to know certain chords because I'm allowing that capo just to take me into that key that I need to be in. Okay, a third reason, final reason why we may use a capo or how they come into play is that they are helpful for keys that are hard to play in. And not to belabor the point here because all these kind of build on each other and there's some overlap in what we're saying here. But if I am playing in a key that I get a chord chart and it just looks very difficult, say we're in the key of D flat, where we have chords like D flat, G flat, A flat, and B flat minor. Well, that's going to be a lot of bar shapes up and down the neck because I don't know those chords otherwise. But if I throw a capo on the first fret and I play in the key of C, I play C shapes, I've already got those 4 chords in C, F, G, and A minor. I've already taken them up to D flat, so I don't have to learn all those funky D flat key chords up and down the neck. So that's just a quicker way to kind of jump into songs where we're like, I don't know those offhand, but I'm going to use a capo in order to get into that song, and that'll be a quicker way to learn it, a quicker way to play it, and I won't have to think so much. So all these are kind of building on each other, but really the capo is the cheat code that unlocks a lot of the guitar, that it makes us, especially as acoustic rhythm players, helps us just to learn things and get in a lot quicker rather than stumbling over things that we aren't used to. Just a couple reasons why we may not want to use a capo or gravitate away from using a capo. These are some things that may just be kind of personal reasons, but something that I will share with you. As we talked about capos being a cheat code, sometimes we can rely on that too much and it actually sort of becomes a crutch in our playing. There are certain people that are purists that say never use a capo. Sometimes they hate on the idea of using capos on guitar. I don't want to go to that extreme ever. I find them very helpful. But some people say they inhibit just pathways to learning more up and down the neck. And sometimes our playing becomes a little one-dimensional if all we're doing is throwing a capo on and just playing those G shapes up and down as far as we can go. For example, let's say I'm I'm in the key of B flat for a song that I'm playing, and I need to play a G chord, a C, a D, and an E minor. Well, what if I don't want to play B flat because those are still hard chords to play, but I move down to the first fret, and instead I play an A D, an E, and an F sharp minor. It changes the voicing up a little bit, but it keeps me from just playing that standard G capo barred and just capo up and down the neck, and gives me another option. Plus, now I've unlocked some shapes that I can use with the key of A and capo up and down the neck with those chord shapes. Another reason why we may just want to break out of using capos all the time is that sometimes we can capo up and it just doesn't sound too great as we start going further and further up the neck. I'll again go to the key of G for an example. I typically try not to capo up past the key or past the fifth fret. That's just kind of a benchmark for me, unless I'm playing with somebody else and they're playing more standard open shapes and I'm capoed up, and that's adding some sort of different voicing to the song. A lot of times just leading up, way up the neck past the fifth fret for me just starts to sound kind of tingy and pingy, and just it's not a good spot to lead from. We can use that to kind of learn what a song, what the chords are in a song, and kind of back to that first point, break down where a song lands with different chords. But to lead from that and kind of play that, it gets to be kind of hard on the ears and harsh after a while. I find, this is me again personally speaking, but I try not to go up if I'm in the key of G past that fifth fret. This would be in the key of C, and even that starts to get a little high. Depending on your guitar and how much it projects and how big it can sound, it may work, but there's some guitars where it just doesn't sound good to keep capoing up. So a couple reasons why you may not want to just always gravitate towards a capo, because it can inhibit your playing. It can inhibit you from really learning other voicings up the neck that the capo otherwise just makes it too easy, and it can become that crutch for you. Well, I hope this video has been helpful, and as always, hit the subscribe button if you want to get more content like this in your feed, and share it with somebody if it's something that you think will interest them and help them in their guitar playing. There's a lot more we can talk about with capos, but I hope this has given you an introduction at least to start using one if you haven't, and just mess around with it. See what it unlocks for you, see how it maybe facilitates some of your playing and brings it to another level. And we will see you again on the next Q&A.